A question that I get asked a lot is, why is my espresso inconsistent? Why can't I get the same espresso every time? Well, the truth is that there's a number of moving parts to espresso. I have been doing espresso and doing barista training for a long time, and I still mess it up sometimes. So what are the keys to make sure that your coffee stays consistent? Firstly, using fresh beans. Let's talk about the beans for a minute. From the time the beans are roasted until the time they're pretty much flavorless, they go through a change. They take on moisture and they change in structure over time as the oxidization process goes along the path. So that's one of the things. Secondly, don't fill your hopper up to capacity, because as the hopper's filled fully, you're not going to use that coffee in a day. That coffee is being oxidized overnight. Leave the next day and the next day. Leave the rest of the coffee in the bag. It's got a valve on the back and it stays fresh. Leave it in a dark, cool cupboard, not the fridge or freezer. So that's the beans taken care of. Then the second thing is the most important, probably the whole process, the grind. We'll do a whole video on grind, but just be assured that the grind makes a huge difference to the consistency of coffee. Now, whilst talking about the grind, what people don't understand is that when you're grinding coffee on a hot sunny day, it's bright, it's dry, whatever the weather conditions are, it'll grind in a certain way. When you grind coffee on a damp, moist, humid day or whatever, it will grind differently. And here's the trick. When that coffee is ground at 7 seconds one day and 7 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever you time your coffee, it will be a different volume in the machine because it's going to grind differently on those different days. So to combat that inconsistency, it's about changing your grinder, making sure your grinder is tweaked to the day. Third thing is weighing your coffee. If you're just eyeballing it based on the fact that I just said that the coffee will change based on how it grinds on a particular day, you can have the impression that you've got the same volume from day to day, because one day it's fluffier and the next day it's not. So it's impossible or nearly impossible to tell the actual weight of coffee by looking at it against the rim of the portafilter. So really, guys, it's not me trying to sell you a set of scales, but get a set of coffee scales, even if you buy them on the internet for $40. They will be fine. The next thing is tamping. One of the problems about tamping is that everyone's got a different idea of what tamping should be or is. And I've come to the conclusion there's no right or wrong way to tamp, but there is a consistent way to tamp. So that if you can get your tamp with the same pressure every single time you make your coffee, the only variable then is the grind. So because you've weighed the coffee in, you know how much coffee you've got and you've tamped consistently. After that, we've got the pour. Obviously, water temperature, the head temperature of your machine makes a difference. However, on the less expensive machines, you won't have the ability to change head temperature. So we're getting a little esoteric there. Then when you pour, a very good indicator of how you've ground and how you've tamped is how the coffee pours. It should pour out like of a honey consistency. We call it rat's tail or tiger tails rather, where the color swirls and you can see the darker and the lighter color in the flow. If you do your 30 seconds or whatever your time is on your pour. If today you get 45 mils and tomorrow you get 28, that means one thing only, and that means your grind was different. Even though your setting was exactly the same, the coffee behaved differently because you hadn't retweaked your grinder. I know it's a lot to take in, but if you're interested in learning further, there are barista courses around. We do offer them ourselves sometimes, but consistency is one of the things that I get asked about most. And quite honestly, those are the steps. If you get that right, and if you get the grind right first and your temp consistent, you should get consistent espresso. So enjoy. I hope that helps. We'll see you next time.